The Square, written and read by Mike Hayes.
Pontycymmer Square, the Charing Cross of the Garrow Valley. Well, perhaps not. Actually, not even a square, more a slightly misshapen pear, and only nearly a crossroad. The main road up and down the valley ran through the centre. Well, near enough. A left-hand turn over the Garrow River, the railway station and the coal marshalling yards led to the western aspect of the valley. The reward for their isolation was a splendid view of the less splendid rears of the many retail businesses on Oxford Street. But the right-hand turn was about 30 yards, slightly uphill, further on from the square. It simply spoilt the geometry. The square itself was surprisingly flat and level. Looking northward and reading from left to right was the Faldai Arms, a pub in truly Welsh fashion and well patronised. Adjacent was the cosy cafe, confectionery, tobacco products, tea, coffee, and piping hot blackcurrant. Oh, and cigarette smoke, lots of it. Then an alleyway to the rear of the pub, and a this and that store that also, it seemed to me, sold petrol, but not often. Then a nice sweet shop. Next was the bus stop and shelter for the Down Valley Western Welsh buses, 3 to the hour. With one's back to the bus shelter, one would see the elongated, pear-drop-shaped island for the Up Valley buses and the splendid, secure iron railings that prevented the unwary a very steep drop to the coal-black Garrow River as it burbled down valley, eventually yielding to the Ogma River and final swish to the Bristol Channel. One would have to be sight-challenged to not have noticed the tangle of overhead wires and cables that entered, crisscrossed, and exited the square. It showed the evolutionary process of improvement. Change was gradual. The northern aspect of the square was dominated by a forbidding 8-foot-high stone wall of the colliery, just allowing an aerial glimpse of sheds and the winding gear. Pontycymmer Square was seldom devoid of human activity. Shoppers, pupils, and 3 shifts daily of the adjacent Faldai colliery, plus the ensemble of delivery vans, milk, bread, coal, groceries, and more, meant busy through traffic, besides public going or returning from somewhere. I remember rows of men seated on the solid base of the railings, some waiting for open tap at the pub, others just there for company, chat, and fresh air, such as it was, but better than the debilitating dust-ridden atmosphere they toiled in. The times when there were no people standing in line for a bus were few and far between. School term times affected the footfall on the square, and not just twice daily, morning and afternoon. Many of my generation went home for dinner. Lunch hadn't got to our valley. For one period in my schooling, with no provision on site, we were sent to the British restaurant. This involved passage through the square. We were a noisy, awkward bunch to be negotiated and tolerated. I well remember the night my sister and I were dressed to go out after our bath. Because our dad was just home from the army, the 4 of us were going for a walk, a novelty. We walked up Oxford Street to the square. We weren't alone. It was full of people, noisy, laughing, hugging, and kissing. On a stand in the middle of the central island was a band playing music of the day. Men were drinking beer from bottles or large glasses with handles. Some women, not many, were drinking brown stuff. It smelled like the stuff my gran put in Christmas puddings. As it got darker, and the steep hills and mountains of the valley meant we lost the sun before most, lights went on in the pub and shops and showed outside. Some houses across the river left their lights on too. I didn't know what time it was, but suddenly it all went quiet and people started to count aloud, backwards. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and exactly on 0, street lights came on everywhere, and 4 very big lights above the island lit up the entire square. The band played God Save the King. I knew it, but I didn't sing. Then, without any announcement or orders, lots of grown-ups formed a circle, one behind the other, hands on hips of the person in front, man, woman, and started to sing, really shout, I, the conga, and stepped rhythmically left, right, around the island. More and more people joined in. I went all quiet when my mum and dad joined in. When the music stopped, people were kissing on the mouth, the cheek, the forehead, even my parents in front of me. I went and sat with my sister and her best friend. I was tired, bewildered, and wanted to go home, which eventually we did, without torches. The square seemed to shrink at the same rate as I grew. But I'll not forget the gaiety, happiness, relief of that crazy night. Funny thing is, just like 1066 and all that, I remember the actual date, May the 8th, 1945.